Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another live guest interview. Today we have smiling Matt Sutton. Matt, how's it going?
Hey, Dave. Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm doing okay. Is it nice and sunny outside?
Mate, I'm literally, I just stopped dripping. It's so hot in my office stroke garage.
The good thing is this must be our week of summer here in the UK, and then next week it's back to being rainy and miserable and horrible weather.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a second run today, definitely, just to make the most of
it. Nice. Gym owners, this is the freedom that we have sometimes. Cool. So we've got the title of the episode, personal development and mindset and all that great stuff. But how did you even get into the fitness tree? Kind of tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I guess my story is probably quite different to most PTs because I think most PTs just like fitness. They're just like sport, and they just think, oh, that looks cool. Let's play with some dumbbells and let's get started. I was a professional snooker player some 20 odd years ago and traveled the world playing that game. And I kind of did enjoy the fitness side of things, and I did start to find the benefits of fitness after leaving school. But for me, the self-employment started for freedom. So that's one of my core values, having the freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want. And so it gave me the freedom doing personal training to travel around Europe and the world playing in snooker and billiard competitions, so that was, I guess I just wasn't your typical six-pack PT, and I sort of found, as I sort of progressed through my career, just the idea of this personal development, just how important it was, because obviously being in a sport like snooker, it's all mindset, really. It's at a high elite level in most sports, the top 1-2%, the difference that separates them is what they're thinking. And so I suppose that's helped me a lot in my business career. I sort of treated business as when I realized that I wasn't going to make it as a snooker player, as hard as that was at the time, it served me well, is having what I learned, in terms of learning lots about psychology and learning about how to handle your emotions. As just before we started this podcast, we have days when people stress us out and things stress us out, and how we cope with that, and how we, that can take its toll. And particularly if you're going to be a business owner rather than just a self-employed PT, and you're going to start employing people and having the fun and games that, employing staff comes, and all the fun and games that comes with being in the service industry itself, difficult members and difficult circumstances. Being able to continually manage your emotions and do the right thing is not the easiest thing to do. And so I'm a big advocate of personal development alongside your normal business development practices. I kind of think they're sort of almost two separate things. And it's the same with my training company. We're a gym. We help people get fit and lose weight. But a lot of what I teach my members, and a lot of the content that I do, it's all mindset. I do a weekly newsletter. I do a weekly podcast called Mastering You. And, I'm constantly just reinforcing to people the importance of mindset. Because let's face it, you're a gym owner yourself. What's the biggest problem all of our members have? Oh, I'm losing the motivation. I'm struggling this week. Oh, I had a bad weekend. It's not that they don't know what to eat. And it's not that they don't know that they need to be exercising more. It all comes back to mindset. And so for me, that the more we as PTs and coaches can study and learn and coach around personal development mindset, the better things are going to be all around.
Nice. So something I did not know about you, that you were a professional snooker player. So
Random,
That's
right?
good to know. That's good to know. Cool. Okay, so somebody's watching this who's just getting into the fitness industry. Maybe they've just got qualified, or they've been qualified for a few months and they're starting to really kick on now. And you're talking about personal development and mindset. How important is this for a newcomer? Is it something that they need to focus on right now, or should they maybe just get used to becoming a PT, getting results, and then start focusing on self-development, personal development, and mindset?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. Obviously, it's dependent on the person and where they are at, in their experiences to date. I think there's a lot to be said for just being in the trenches to start with, if I'm honest, and just being a fantastic coach. Like I started out as an apprentice. That's one of my strategies now as a gym owner, is I generally always have an apprenticeship scheme going on where we can get new young blood in, because I think it's a great way to start. And I think that's where there's a bit of a myth around personal development. We should always be learning. I'm not sure I completely agree with that. You can read all your books and do all the training courses you want, but at the end of the day, let's face it, we all know, anyone that's a personal development advocate knows the average person doesn't consume even half of the content that they buy or consume, right? So action's absolutely crucial. And I think for young trainers, in particular, you're in that, I guess in terms of personal development, you're in the stage of finding yourself. You don't know. I don't know about you, but I get a lot of PTs ask me, should I do this? Should I go down the strength route? Should I go down the fat loss route? Should I go down the physio route? And I'm like, well, try stuff. You won't know until you try. Your time at this point is not as valuable as it will be one day. So try lots of things, find out what you're going to be really passionate about and what's going to energize you. And then once you sort of find, I guess, that, as you would call it, the niche, you can then start to go deep and the personal development that you need. It's really important to be really clear and be purposeful about the type of content I think that you consume, because you can consume education, you can consume what they call sort of infotainment education. That's quite sort of, it's easy to consume, like podcasts. And I've certainly gone down this rabbit hole probably as well, of consuming stuff. I know young trainers do it, particularly, is just scrolling YouTube and spending hours watching YouTube, but really asking the question, what do I need? What are the things that I need? What's going to help me right now? Because it's so easy with the amount of content we're hit with every day to be taken in by the fancy new workout protocol, the fancy new diet plan. But what's the thing that's going to actually help me at this stage in my life? And I think for young trainers, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges they have, is filtering all the vast amounts of information coming up them and being really clear on, what do I actually need right now?
So just so we can get just a nice level playing field here now, what, in your opinion, is personal self-development? What is it in a real quick sentence for someone who just isn't grasping what it is you're actually going on about? What is personal development?
I think in one sentence is being better than you were yesterday. I say to a lot of our members, because they'll sometimes say, oh, I'm not really into all of that personal development stuff, all that woo-woo stuff. I'm like, listen, you're here at LPT. You told me that you want to lose weight. That's a form of self-development. You're wanting to improve yourself. It's called self-improvement, right? So whether you call it self-improvement, self-development, personal development, these are all just words for just being a better person. Who doesn't want to be a better person? So then the question is, okay, I want to be a better person. So what do I do? What do I need to consume? Well, what are your biggest challenges? What are the things that you struggle with the most? What are the areas in your life that you want to be showing up in that you're proud of, and face them, and the areas where you feel like you're going to feel the most discomfort are usually the areas that you should probably lean into a little bit more. I put off doing a podcast for like 2.5 years, and it was like one of those nagging things in my mind. I was like, I want to do this. I've been listening to podcasts for years, and quite honestly, it had quite a profound impact on my life. Just all of these virtual mentors from all over the world and all these things that you can learn. I was like, I want to have these conversations, but I want to selfishly ask the questions myself. And for whatever reason, I just put it off, like we all do. The big things that we want to do, generally, those are the things that we put off. And, eventually I did it. And I did. This is where it comes back to what I was saying to you earlier. At some point, you've got to take action on the thing that you keep thinking about.
Nice. And that's a really nice way to explain it, because I've always thought of it as well, like asking the selfish approaches. I've always thought of personal development very similar to the mindset stuff, because they've always get kind of bunched together within the same sentence. But what you're saying is personal development could be just being able to complete a mile a little bit quicker, be able to get through one book once a month, being able to spend just a little bit more time with your family or your friends. Just so small wins could be personal development.
There's just so many levels to it, so much depth to it, isn't there? I mean, there are certain things years ago I thought, God, that's a bit deep. Now that's like nowhere near as deep as like the 5, 6, 7 levels that I've since observed. It's all about where you're at, and the things that you think are maybe a little bit woo-woo or a little bit out there now. No doubt in 3 or 4 years' time that'll just be the norm for you. And again, I think this is where just expanding your mind to different ideas, call it personal development, call it self-growth, whatever you want. But I think it's a crucial part of business and life in general. I think that's a big thing for me, is kind of, what we offer as PTs and coaches. I think sometimes we can do ourselves down about what we're actually doing and offering. We really do have a platform and opportunity to completely transform someone's life. And so we should take that really seriously. We're teaching someone to do a squat. We're teaching someone to build better habits, improve their nutrition. But if you really ask good questions and you get people on the journey, I've had members on my podcast open up. I'm sure you've had many members tell you about, we've had some crazy stories of transformation in people's lives. And a lot of that has come from their own, like the fitness, that first squat or walking into your studio, that could be their day one on their journey of personal development. Before you know it, they're doing meditation, they're doing Wim Hof ice baths, they're doing breath work, they're listening to my podcasts, they're doing their own courses. I've had people that have been on some of my classes and end up doing retreats around the world with some of the most spiritual teachers that you would never have even heard of. Wow. Like, we've got the opportunity just to get people on that path.
Nice. Okay. So let me ask you a quite difficult question then. A client's coming in and they've obviously started their own personal development because they've come in to you to have that support, to train, have a little bit about nutrition. But you can see that one of the things that's letting them down is they go to bed too late. So they're always going to bed at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Then you've got to be up at 5 or 6 to get to work. And it's just that constant cycle. How would you approach these type of clients to say, hey, you know what, your training is going great, but we need to work on your sleeping pattern? How do you start approaching people?
Yeah, depends on the context, like whether it's a coaching session, assessment, or how you're having that conversation, whether it's part of the package. We at LPT try and take less of an instruction-based kind of methodology and more of a coach-based. So it's around asking lots of questions, ultimately questions that are going to help them get to the point where they realize sleep's the issue rather than you telling them. It's not always possible. I'm a big fan of Dax Moy's 80-20 rule. So, he recommends spending 80% of the time on exploration-based questioning. So actually finding out more and more detail, 20% of the time actually telling them what you need to actually do. But even on the 20% of instruction, giving them a few options. Dax, I'm a massive fan of Dax. I've had Dax on my podcast. He's a big fan of giving them 3 options. So, you ask them the questions that are maybe going to lead them to the point where, so you ask them, well, how was your sleep? And the problem with some questions like that is they're quite poor questions. Like if you ask someone, what's your diet like? That's a terrible question, because most people, they'll either be honest and say, yeah, it's
Great.
good. Or, yeah, they'll say that. Say, yeah, I have cereals every morning with fortified vitamins. I have a sandwich and a ham sandwich and just one packet of crisps at lunch. I have lasagna and, maybe just one beer in dinner. So that, their idea of what's good is far from what's going to get them the results that they want. So you have to be really careful with your questioning. But to answer your question, I guess it's exploration. I hope that helps. Like 80% exploration. I think that's a really good thing to remember, is because what you're doing there is you're getting deeper and deeper into the real, what Dax calls is diagnosing the problem. How do you know what the solution is if you can't fully diagnose the initial problem? And most people's, what they think of the problem is nowhere near the actual problem. The problem is very rarely the problem. Like they say that my problem is I eat too much. No, you don't eat too much. You just probably eating the wrong foods. But maybe it's not that you're not eating the wrong foods. It's the fact that you're never planning to actually eat a good meal in the first place. And because you're not planning, you're not actually buying those foods in the first place. And so the problem comes all the way back, like 5-6 layers down, or 10 layers down, depending on how far you want to get with it. So what I try and do as a coach is get right to the root. What's the real thing? Because that's where step one is. And that question there, like about, your food and people thinking they're just eating the wrong food, that can come all the way back to they've not really got any idea about what they want from their life. It depends how deep you want to go with it. I am a fan of action as well. And I'm a fan of saying, well, let's get some practical things you can do right now, because let's face it, people, they work better when there's momentum. If you can get them to feel good within a few days and you can get that quick win, then you build momentum. It's a difficult thing to do, getting that balance between giving your members, your new clients, a quick win, but also you're not going for the quick fix. Everyone wants the quick fix, right? But obviously, I'm sure, like most gym owners watching this, we're hopefully teaching your members really about building lifestyle habits, which is what we do at LPT. Trying to think of the bigger vision for your life.
Nice. Okay. So you've mentioned this a few times now, and the question I had was, what is the best way to start delivering this stuff? Obviously, you need to go and do some research, maybe do a little bit of qualification around this type of thing. But if you just wanted to dabble in it and start working with your clients on some of their own personal development, what is the best way to kind of get started with them? Because you mentioned exploration, asking those right questions, but how would somebody not knowing that really wanted to challenge their clients go about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good courses available. Obviously, that's something to look at. I did Dax's mind map. I found that one of the most transformational courses I've ever done. There's so many books on like this. I do think in this day and age, as a coach, you've got to be massively passionate about what you do. And it has to become from an intrinsic motivator. For me, every day I just naturally would listen to podcasts. I'd naturally read books every day, try and learn. You've got to be on the cutting edge of everything new, whether it's the nutrition side, the fitness side, the mindset side. So I'd say firstly, you've got to be, for going back to the new trainer thing, like your level 3 or whatever, that's just really ticking the box, right? That's just your real study and personal development starts with you every single day doing something. But ultimately, to ask the right questions and do the coaching the right way, you want to find, because within mindset and personal development, it's like a whole minefield. So, you've got things like motivational interviewing, you've got looking at more of a neuroscientific approach, you've got CBT, you've got life coaching. You have to maybe do some research, a bit like what I was saying earlier about when you want to find out what type of coach you want to be. You'd probably need to dip your toe in a few different areas to find that area that you think, oh, wow. For me, the neuroscience side struck me hard. That's one of the things that sort of stayed with me. And that's one of the areas that I found fascinating, was when you're working and coaching at a brain level, not just for how you talk to your clients, but because it helps you manage your own emotions. When you realize in the moment, oh, wait a minute, I'm threat is present here. I'm feeling it. I'm stressed. Is this a good time to reply to that unhappy customer who wants, I don't know, XYZ refund, or they're not, probably not. And you can learn a lot about yourself. I think self-awareness is one of the keys to transformation.
Nice. Okay. So I'm really enjoying kind of what you're talking about here, and really thinking, you know what, I need to really kind of maybe start working on my own self-development, maybe start helping my clients with self-development. But then you went on to say there's so many factors to self-development and different levels and all kinds of different stuff. How does someone get started? Where you've mentioned podcasts and books and courses, where does someone kind of go? Is there like a real basement place they go to start off with?
No, not really. I mean, yes, there is. Obviously, it comes back to, to simplify it, it's a bit like weight loss. I mean, look at health. Health is possibly one of the most complex things on earth. Like we really, people think we understand health. We have no idea. I mean, you've only got to look at the epidemic that we've got to see why we're in that position. So it is complex, but with health, like if you've got type 2 diabetes, or you've got anxiety, or you're struggling with obesity, okay, well, this was probably the first thing I really need to study. How can I if I've got type 2 diabetes, how do I manage my blood sugar levels? I think the same things goes with personal development. If you struggle, I think journaling is a really good thing to do, initially, because it gives people something practical to find out about themselves. Many people who have never even touched on the personal development world don't really know themselves. So if you've never done practices like doing your core values, one thing I probably would suggest while I'm here, I'm a big fan of a personal development guy called Dr. D. Martini. Have you heard of that guy? And he has a free, it's called the Values Determination questionnaire or survey. It takes a good 20, 30 minutes. It's one of the most detailed processes that I've been through, and it's free. And you can find out who you are. You can find out what you value. I mean, this guy is a polymath. He's just unbelievable. Like, if you listen to him, and his content is phenomenal. So even his free podcast, that would probably be one of my first places I'd recommend going. If you want to go dip your toe into personal development, that'd probably be a good first step. Do your values, find out what's important to you, but make on a more practical level, what do you struggle with day to day the most, and that you feel if you can get over that hurdle is going to push you forwards quicker. So if you struggle with confidence, or if you struggle with anxiety, or insert whatever your struggle is, there's probably going to be a guru or a book out there that can help you get started, and that will help you narrow down your field to get you moving.
Nice. Okay, so let's go to a more experienced role. Maybe you've been into self-development, you've worked on yourself, you've been working on your clients. And something you mentioned earlier is knowing how deep you should be going. And you said you can go really, really, really deep. Where are times where maybe you shouldn't go deep, and where are times maybe you actually have to go deep to kind of uncover the problems?
Yeah, that's a good question. There is a point. Obviously, it comes down to your certification as well. When you're getting to the point of medical issues, particularly mental health medical issues, that's going to be out of your realms of scope to deal with as a coach. You need to, you are treading on eggshells a little bit there. So you need to be a little bit careful there, and just do the right thing in recommending that they get further help. There is also, and I've experienced it, you just have to be really honest with a coach. As a coach, it's a bit like someone asking you a nutrition question that you really feel puts you out of your comfort zone, or a fitness question. Just do the right thing and point them in the direction of someone that's more qualified than you. But ultimately, I've just had a blank there. What was the question again?
It was about how deep you should go, instances where you can't or shouldn't go deep, and instances where you actually should really go much deeper.
I think when you feel like you're hitting that wall and maybe you're not making as much progress as you want, and that's generally where you are going a bit out of your depth. I think there's an element to some people can be so in the dark, you can't pull them back into the light. And that is usually a chemical level in the brain where they maybe do need medication, whether it's antidepressants or they need some form of therapy beyond your scope. So you do need that self-awareness of knowing, being really confident in what you are doing. And this is where, I guess reading, learning, education, courses, trainings is going to help you, no doubt. There's a lot to be said for life experience as well. And don't be afraid to tell a client that this is moving out of your scope of knowledge. Basically, I think people will respect you more for that than giving them advice. And unfortunately, in the personal development world, this happens far too often. Is people just wanting to charge you for advice, and that they really, you've got these gurus that aren't making any money themselves and teaching you how to be a six-figure earner in 3 days, right? So
we know a few of those, don't we? We know a few of those.
Yeah, but there's different versions of those, many versions of those in the personal development world as well. They're everywhere. So yeah, you've got to be wary.
It sounds very similar to a sales session as well, the type of stuff that you're talking about. Some of the questions that you'd be asking, the way you're framing things, it'd be quite similar to doing a sales consultation.
Yeah, so when I'm sort of training up any new coaches or any of my sales team, that's one of the things that I talk about is we try and take quite a coaching approach. We want them to see the value straight away and actually give them some practical tips on a call. I would recommend doing this. I'd recommend doing that. Can you see how that would work for you? So you're getting them to think about the future and they're thinking about the positive steps that they're going to take. So you sort of telling them what you do and telling them how it gets results. And then you're asking them how can they see that working well for them? Yes, it's kind of salesy, but really, I think my personal opinion on sales is just really good communication. If you can communicate people really well and on a level that helps them see the future, but see how they can achieve their goals, then why wouldn't they want to work with you? Yes, it's good sales, but if you believe in what your product is and believe you can help them, then that's a good thing, right?
Nice. Okay, so we kind of get into the point in the episode now where I almost flip it on its head. So instead of me asking the questions that I think are going to be interesting, that people would be wanting to know, what questions do you think I haven't asked that I've missed that we should be talking about?
That's a good question itself, Dave. I guess, asking, what do you do when you hit adversity? What's the method? What are the strategies? Because everyone's gonna in business. I've been in business now 15 years. There's going to be times when things just hit the fan. That would be my question.
Nice,
you want the answer?
Nice. Yeah. Go for it with the answer now as well, because I'm guessing a lot of people have probably hit that where they've had 6 or 7, maybe even 12 weeks of great success, loads of new clients, they're full of energy, and like you say, something hits them like that, and they're just like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, or I don't really want to go in and train the clients, I don't really want to focus on my nutrition. What do people do when they kind of hit those brick walls themselves?
Well, I mean, again, this is really where the personal development comes into play. I mean, that's why I talk about it so much. I mean, let's face it, from a retention point of view, it's crucial. You want your members to be as motivated as possible all the time. So, having content that sort of gives them that opportunity. So I do this, just for ideas. I do this in the form of having journals. We have Mastering You journals for our members that they get to complete. We have different resources, workshops, masterclasses, and coaching calls. So I think that's my personal opinion is the gym of today needs to be offering way more than just the gym floor fitness, because as great as that is, for the majority of the types of clients that we work with anyway, your busy mums and dads and professionals, their biggest struggle is not really the gym and the training. It's getting there, it's the nutrition, it's managing their stress, their sleep, all of those things. So we try and have lots of conversations around that. But I mean, in terms of the question that I asked, like overcoming adversity, you know, my one of my parts of my big story is at age 27, I got cancer. That was an interesting point, because that was when it was an aggressive cancer. It was, could have not been here, but luckily we picked it up just in time. But it was a point where I was like your self-employed PT doing everything, literally juggling 10 balls. I had 3 nursing homes. I had 2 schools. I was doing door like home PT. I had a gym where I did PT. I just started boot camps. I got started boot camps just when boot camps exploded, and they were just rammed. And suddenly, obviously, doing having chemo and stuff, it just, that in terms of adversity, it couldn't have been worse, because I'd just given up my fitness instructor job, just bought a house with my girlfriend at the time, got a massive mortgage, and then obviously going self-employed, you're like fucked, basically. And so, but looking back, like, this is why I sort of talk about adversity, is it was probably the best thing that could have happened in a way, because I had no choice but to start looking at outsourcing, building a team, helping me out, because I just couldn't do all of those things. I couldn't do all the nursing homes and the schools and the boot camps, and and I think that's the thing that generally, and I know it's like you hear it a lot in personal development, but I do genuinely think it's true. Like, the adversity that we feel, it is our time for personal development. That's the sign, that's the symptom, or what sign that you've got an opportunity to grow from this. I think it's just so important, because if you're gonna be in business for a long time, and hopefully anyone listening to this will be, there's going to be times when it's going to massively come down on you. It's going to be tough. And so, finding out how you can grow, what the areas of growth from that is going to make you sort of rock solid longer term. And certainly for me, that whole experience, I went from being a one-man band to having maybe 10 coaches working for me within a year. And I was going through chemo at the same time. So my business actually grew during that period, because I realized I can grow more and help more people if I've got bigger team. And ended up licensing the boot camp across the UK, ended up opening gyms after that, and
wow, say we've been friends for ages. Half this stuff I'd never even know, really. Cool. Okay, is there anything else you think that we've missed in this episode so far to conclude?
No, not really. I guess just with the whole mindset and personal development, I think a lot of it is just, I'm like a big fan of a lot of these gurus. I find Gary Vee a bit OTT, but one of the things I do like about Gary Vee is his number one quality or thing that he talks about is patience. And I think that is really key, is being patient. We always want the next thing super fast. And as good as that is to be ambitious, I think we always need to just to calm it down a little bit, center ourselves, and just be confident and just keep moving forward. Do your planning, take action on what you plan to do. And, you can't do any better than that. There's only so many hours in a day.
Nice. So if somebody is listening or watching this now or further down the line, and they're interested to know a little bit more about what you do, and you mentioned you had a podcast as well, where can people come and learn a little bit more about you, or maybe kind of listen in some of the episodes?
Yeah, the podcast is probably the best place because you get to obviously listen in. We had a World High Rocks champion this week, which was cool. And we cover like mastering you. So it's quite broad. We cover all areas of self-mastery, from fitness, nutrition, mindset. There's a lot of mindset, money. Got a money episode coming up. So it's all about my big passion of personal development, really. And I guess that probably is a good way to sort of finish is if you've got a business, like create it around the things that you enjoy. I like personal development. I like freedom. So I don't do a lot of the things that I don't like to do. And I shape the business so that I can do the things that I do want to do. And I think you need to ask that question a lot because it seems like such an easy thing to do. Just be a PT, open a gym and do all the things that you want to do, but you can soon find yourself doing a lot of things you don't want to do. So yeah, masteringyou.co.uk is our podcast website. So that's like our sort of library where all of our episodes are stored, and LPT is our Body Transformation Center.
Nice. Matt, I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you for coming on. Obviously, you've been on before, so hopefully we can get you further down the line again and we can dive into this topic a little bit further again. But no, thanks for coming on and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me, man.
No worries. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.